Welcome back everyone. Today we're going to Reddit, but not to look at specific stories like we had before, scary, funny, shocking, that kind of thing. We're just going to go for the very best of the best. Whatever they are, these threads and conversations went down in internet history, and you're about to see exactly why. I'm really excited for this one, genuinely. My name is Danny Burke, and this is the top 10 legendary Reddit threads. Starting off at number 10 now, we have everything in Spanish. In 2010, Reddit user Snail Farmer posted in the Ask Reddit subreddit desperate for help. His thread was titled, "Help! Reddit turned Spanish and I cannot undo it." He explained that 5 minutes before, everything on Reddit had turned from English to Spanish on him. He was asking for help on how to switch it back. Did Reddit help him? Well, first they had some fun. Over 2,000 people replied and almost all of the comments were in Spanish. They wanted to mess with this poor guy and make him think that not only were his Reddit settings in Spanish, but all of the comments were also appearing in Spanish as well. The more he tried to tell people that he couldn't understand them, the more people replied in Spanish. Eventually, he fixed it and posted an update that read, "So I wake up this morning to about 1,500 replies in my inbox that I cannot read, and then I run them through Google Translator and most of them say stuff like, 'The dog is in my pants' and 'Where is the library?' Thanks Reddit." It was a massive joke that Reddit pulled off on just one poor guy, but it was pretty hilarious. Next up at number 9 now, we have The Secret. In 2012, Reddit user Oh Gosh Where to Begin asked Reddit, "What's your secret that could literally ruin your life if it came out?" What followed was people anonymously sharing the most shocking, funny, depressing, or just plain old embarrassing secrets that would ruin their life if people in their real life knew about them. Everyone likes hearing secrets. Humans are kind of nosy by nature. One thing that I think people took from this thread was also that everyone has secrets. Everyone has weird or sort of quirky things about them, and so there's really nothing to worry about if you do have them, because that's perfectly normal. I think it would actually be quite strange if someone didn't have any secrets. Do you know what I mean? Moving on now to number 8, we have Magic the Gathering. In 2014, Reddit user Obi1FBM participated in one of the biggest Magic the Gathering tournaments of all time. He shared his pictures of the event to Reddit, and very quickly people noticed a theme. Instead of pictures of him taking part, every picture seemed to be of him in front of someone who was exhibiting what can only be described as builder's bum or plumber's crack, depending on where you're from in the world. In the space of just a few days, the thread spread from Reddit and went around the world. People made their own parodies, songs, and memes about it, and I think that once you've seen those pictures, it's kind of hard to forget them. Moving on now to number 7, we have Obama AMA. On August 29th, 2012, former US President Barack Obama was on the campaign for re-election. As part of all that, he did an AMA on Reddit where people could ask questions, either political or personal, and have them answered instantly by the US President. It was a historic moment for a generation that had grown up feeling a bit of a separation between their world of the internet and the powers that be, if you like. Here, perhaps in the biggest way possible, were the two worlds coming together. Obama answered questions about long-term growth for younger generations, restricting money in politics, and the war in Afghanistan. He also talked about the secret recipe for making the White House's beer and said it was very tasty. The AMA happened 6 years ago, so it's not just an interesting read for the reasons I've already stated, but it's also like a mini time capsule to see the biggest issues of 2012. At the number 6 spot now, we have the longest game. What's the longest you've ever played a video game for? I'm not talking about with breaks. I mean you played the same game file for perhaps days, weeks, or even months. Well, in 2012, Reddit user Lyserious posted in the gaming subreddit saying, "I've been playing the same game of Civilization 2 for almost 10 years. This is the result." For those of you that don't know what Civilization is, it's a sort of empire building game. This version was released in 1996, before some of you guys were even born, I bet. And yet here this guy was in 2012 saying the game was still going on. He said that he and the 2 remaining AI had been locked in a 1,700 year long war with no end in sight. Hundreds of Redditors tried to help figure out how to end the game, and even Sid Meier's, the creator of the game, got involved. Moving on now to number 5, we have the post-it notes. In 2015, Reddit user R Bradbury1920 posted to Reddit saying that he kept finding yellow post-it notes in a handwriting that wasn't his all over his apartment. Each one was a reminder to do an errand that he had told nobody about. He was freaked out and began to think that his landlord was entering his apartment when he wasn't around. He asked Reddit what his best course of action was, legally speaking. Eventually, a Reddit user called Kakariak suggested it might actually be a physical problem. He said that it sounded like there could be a carbon monoxide leak in the building and that the man was actually passing out, writing scribbled notes for himself, and then forgetting when he woke up. Well, the guy took his advice, he bought a CO detector, and sure enough, there was a CO leak. That random Redditor saved his life, and the thread went down in history. Moving on now to number 4, we have Rome Sweet Rome. In 2011, a Redditor called The Quiet Earth asked a simple question: could I destroy the entire Roman Empire during the reign of Augustus if I traveled back in time with a modern US Marine Infantry battalion? It's a kind of far-fetched question that you might chat about with your friends. Some people put a few basic answers, but a guy called Prufrock451 went above and beyond. He wrote a third-person story about a US Marine Infantry battalion getting transported to ancient Rome and the events that would follow that. People begged him to write more, and within a week he was at 3,500 words. Eventually, rumours of the story spread so far that even Warner Brothers got involved. They decided to make a movie and gave the Redditor a cut of the deal. He was eventually removed from the project but made a lot of money and got a lot of work opportunities because of a story that he just knocked off during a lunch hour one day. I'm not sure what's more interesting here, the story about the actual Marines in ancient Rome or the story of the story. You guys decide. Moving on now to number 3, we have The Button. For April Fool's Day 2015, a subreddit was created that sent the whole site into a meltdown. It was simply called The Button. When visitors went there, they saw a button on the left side of the screen and a 60-second counter on the right side. That was it. Every Redditor could press the button and reset the counter. So people did that. Nobody knew what would happen if the button wasn't pressed and the timer reached 0. Sometimes it got down to just 20 seconds, but then someone would come along and press the button. Groups formed, with some people campaigning that the button should be left alone so everyone could see what happened, while others said the button should be pressed because something bad would happen otherwise. The subreddit was archived about 2 months later, leaving everyone to study, discuss and theorize about what exactly the button was all about. Next up, number 2 now, we have Poor versus Ordinary. This was an intense Reddit thread started by Foira. They asked Reddit, what do insanely poor people buy that ordinary people know nothing about? The results were pretty eye-opening for many Redditors. One person talked about being a kid and saving up bus tickets that had certain dates and months on, but not the year. They would then save them until the next year and reuse them. This went on for about 10 years until they changed the system to electronically stamped tickets with barcodes. Others talked about the food they ate or the routines they had just to make ends meet. It's something that 95% of people who have an internet connection to watch this video or read that Reddit thread would struggle to understand. It drew in thousands of comments, many of them supportive, many of them curious, from people of every background. If you're looking for a humbling and impactful Reddit thread, this is the one for you. And finally, number 1 now, we have the potato. This is just a hilarious and ridiculous story shared on Reddit by a guy who enraged the parents of his girlfriend by pretending to not know what a potato is. If that sounds like a ridiculous story, it really is, but it's so funny. In summary, he was invited to dinner at his girlfriend's house and they were having baked potatoes. Now for some reason, he thought it would be funny to pretend that he didn't know what potatoes were. Eventually though, he digs himself into a deep hole where he realizes that it's too late to tell them now that he was joking. He ends up having to stick to his guns and digs an ever deeper hole for himself. At one point, he even has to say that he's never even heard the word potato before. In the end, his girlfriend's dad becomes enraged and even more hilarity follows. This story is a bit too long for me to read on here, but I put it at the end of the video in the hopes that it's the very next thing you guys go and check out. It's very funny. Alright, I think I made that clear. And I think that's also the end of the video. I want to do more Reddit type videos though, guys. It's just great for funny, scary, or amazing stories from real people, just like you guys. Do you have any suggestions you want? Let me know if you do. Thanks for watching as always. My name is Danny Burke and I will see you all in the next one.